The Yorkshire Dales is in the grip of the worst disaster the community has ever known. Foot and mouth disease came to the villages of Malhamdale and Upper Wharfdale in May 2001. It raced through the valleys, over the limestone hills, taking away a lifetime's work from 500 farms and killing more than 250,000 animals. A small group of farmers, family and friends living in and around the Dales villages of Malham and Grassington allowed a camera to witness what life was really like, waiting for, then living with this silent enemy.
There's a marksman in the field and shooting some cows. They drop and then you hear the bullet.
It's just like somebody walking into your living room and shooting your pet cat or pet dog in front of you.
I think it was the worst day of my life.
It just does your head in. Completely does your head in.
On the surface, all seems normal, but the fields are empty of livestock and there's uncertainty and fear. Then, after a 2-week lull, there's an outbreak in Addingham on the edge of the Dales. The threat has returned. 1,200 animals are slaughtered, as well as thousands on neighbouring farms.
It couldn't have happened, you know, at the worst of time, you know, to have another outbreak like this. These areas they just are not going to be the same again.
Foot and mouth isn't in the headlines anymore, but Dales farmers are struggling every day with the mental torture that foot and mouth creates. In Grassington, Lister Walmsley's farm machinery hire business has suffered. Farmers don't want other farmers on their land. And with no income, Lister has reached a point where he simply can't afford to feed and care for 150 sheep. He's not allowed to sell or move them to better land.
We're just waiting now for a wagon coming. Should be here shortly with these sheep and these lambs here. They're all going away this morning. And later on today they'll all be shot and go into a landfill tip. I don't know, it's very, very sad it is. Very, very sad. All right.
The government welfare scheme will pay Lister about half what his animals were worth last year.
It isn't the money that you're getting for them, it's the way that they're going. It's just absolutely disheartening. Really, it really is.
I hope things are picking up for you.
That's it tonight. Yeah.
So, well, thank you very much.
Okay then, well thank you.
Visit.
Yeah.
Okay, thanks.
All right
now.
then.
Bye-bye.
Right, thank you. Yep. So, you know, sad end to everything really. We know that is the outcome of stuff when it goes, but you know, stuff usually does its cycle and people benefit out of it as it goes on. This way there's not a lot of benefit for anybody really. There isn't.
The Dean family have farmed near Grassington for almost 900 years, but all that ended in June.
Emotions were running very high. I think even the hardest of men, it brings them to the knees, anything like this. And it's just like having a death in the family.
Before animals are allowed back, every inch of the farm must be cleaned and disinfected, a process that could take up to 3 months. Anthony had just started when the government stopped every farm from cleaning to try to work out how to reduce the costs.
You get a bit fed up of being wet through every day, frozen stiff, water running down your neck, cobwebs in your hair. But that's what we had to put up with, and so has everybody else.
But the break in power washing has given the family time to think about the future.
Well, the routine is very different. If you go out on a night, doesn't matter what time you stop out till what sort of a state you get into when you've been at the pub, because you know full well you can stop in bed for an hour extra in the morning. Whether we go back exactly as we were, I don't know. we've had time to sit back and reflect in one respect. I don't think neither I nor my two sons want to be tied to a cow's tail for the rest of our lives, which we have been in the past.
One of Anthony's sons is missing. With an empty milking parlour and no income, Angus thought he should find another job.
What I have noticed is we've got, this does seem to be running behind. With that number, we're happy we're going to cope, or you're going to cope.
I hope so.
Angus now works for DEFRA, the organisation that killed his own animals.
Our case officer came round at home and I thought, well, if there's any jobs going, I could do what he was doing, and so I applied for the job and they said, what qualities can you give me? And so I said, well, I'm good at paperwork and hopefully I'll be able to talk to the farmer, which would be on everyone's benefit.
OK, anything else?
I'd left my brother and dad cleaning, which I've got out of some power washing, so, which is quite good.
He said he was going to get a job. I said, fine, if you want to get a job. And when he said he was going to see if DEFRA had a job, I was a bit surprised because DEFRA don't have a good name amongst farmers. When he went to work for them, I scratched my head and thought, well, good luck to you, mate, you know, get on with it and see the other side of the fence.
With this one, I'm also getting a map to show where the slurry has been spread.
Yeah, that's fine. Yeah, just leave it in my pigeonhole.
When he's been a pen pusher for 6 months, sat in a nice warm office, I'm not so sure he'll want to come back to milking at 6 o'clock in the morning.
Philip Metcalfe lost almost 2,000 sheep and cattle from his Mallandale farm when the ministry made what was possibly their biggest mistake of the whole crisis.
These sheep here were in lamb or newly lambed. Them lambs were 2 days old.
Generations of breeding shouldn't have died on that day in May. Philip and his dad Bob are left with just 350 sheep on rented fields miles from the farm, the lucky ones when DEFRA realised they were at the wrong site.
Come on! From 4 o'clock in the morning, I'm not used to going up at that time, but that's the time I wake and just thinking about what's happened. I'm just lost. I'm absolutely lost. My son will carry on. He took over August last year and I don't know which way to turn.
Over the past 3 months, Philip and his father have felt the suffering from both sides. The sadness of losing animals they cared for and the reality of trying to farm under tight restrictions.
Yeah, usually we take the sheep down home to clip, but because of foot and mouth restrictions, these sheep have been on the same field since February. Sheep need a change, otherwise they go stale, they go dried on the same land all the time.
They've been here that long and that short of grass, the sheep are losing the wool and the lambs are going smaller instead of bigger.
Because they've been restricted up here, there's a doubt whether they'll be good enough to breed off this back end.
Because these animals are all that Philip has left of a flock going back generations, he won't let them go on the welfare scheme. Philip has applied on 4 occasions to bring them home. So far, DEFRA has refused. Footpaths throughout the Dales have been closed to walkers since February, a policy that has caused hardship for the local economy. Mr Walmsley is shearing his remaining sheep when a procession of 4x4s head up to Grassington Moor.
There's a grouse shoot going on up on moor.
The shoot on the moor is perfectly legal. They've been granted a licence by DEFRA.
You know, the public for a long time now have been abiding the rights of way being closed and one thing and another. To be quite honest, I just think it's, you know, it's rubbing muck in public's face. I do.
But it's not just farmers who are unhappy. People who can only walk on the lane are concerned about disinfecting standards they're witnessing.
And I actually saw people associated with the shoot walking onto the moor through a gateway that's clearly signposted as no entry without taking any precautions whatsoever.
This shooter appears to forget to disinfect his feet, possibly distracted by the camera in his eagerness to disagree with any criticism.
I think we've taken every precaution. I come from Lincolnshire. There is no foot and mouth in Lincolnshire. Everybody that's shot here today has been asked first whether in actual fact they're from a foot and mouth area. If they are, they're not allowed here.
We're taking all the precautions that we can in the circumstances. I am actually a farmer, so I understand the situation. From North Yorkshire, Thirsk.
The area around Thirsk has been described by many as a foot and mouth hotspot.
I know it's very awkward, everybody's the living to make, but I think it would have been better if maybe gone without this time. I do.
The shooting party returned to the moor the next day. There's a team of people with power washers and literally everybody dips their feet. The season is changing. The Yorkshire Dales hasn't seen a slaughter team for some weeks, although the threat is still there as culling continues in Cumbria. However, people in this area can't forget. Like those in Linton Falls who opened their curtains to see cattle being shot outside the 12th century church. Local farmers are invited to a special foot and mouth service led by Canon Chris Haywood.
And on this table here, we've placed some symbols of this painful year. A disinfectant tub, shears, redundant equipment for some, symbols of the story of this year, which we recollect and think about now as we toll the bell which sounded at noon from this church, a sign of awareness, of solidarity, and the supportiveness of people's prayer.
The church props are in fact everyday items to David Sayer and his family. David thinks he's lucky to have much of his flock alive. However, he's lost animals on 3 occasions where a field neighboured an infected farm.
Well, you sort of wonder why you do it sometimes. Just has basically been working for nothing. I can't get any movement licences as yet to move these out of this area. Knock-on effect of that is more expense, because I'm going to be feeding lambs that I can't sell. It's very satisfying when new life's coming into the world. That's why I do it, because I enjoy it.
David's just spent £1,000 on drugs to vaccinate and keep his sheep healthy. A difficult purchase when they have no value at the moment and there's a chance they may be culled.
These are mule gimmers, and they would have been sold on 6th of September. But we still have every one yet. And they said they were easing the restrictions. Who does that?
David once thought his son Charles might follow the family tradition.
Future for Charles? I don't know whether there is one up on these hills or not now. Well, I want him to be happy, and he loves farming. It's in his blood. And if he gets the opportunity, yeah, hopefully he can do it. Go on, I'll hold it to you. Right, squeeze. See, that never felt it. So I nipped it. If the income doesn't lift in the foreseeable future, there's not going to be a future for me, never mind him. Because we're working for nothing now, and it'll be even worse finding the money to pay the bills next year, because there isn't any money at the moment.
The future of farming in the Dales depends on younger people continuing to have the passion to farm. It's an industry that's strangled by red tape, where prices seem to be controlled by supermarkets. In Kirkby Malham, 3 generations are helping Bill Bland clean his farm, where over 1,000 animals died. His farm was one of the first to get the disease in Malhamdale.
We all in the community, you know, can't wait to get stock back in the area again because it's just quite desolate.
Bill's wife Muriel knows the cull has affected not only her husband, but the entire village.
Quite often I say, why have you put those sheep behind the house? They're bawling at 5 o'clock in the morning. But, you know, to not have any of those noises about it's been really, it's just been an awful silence about the place. It's just a real emptiness.
Bare field, there's not a lot of pleasure in either walking around them or doing any work in them, really.
I don't know whether it can hear me, but yes, it's been quite a nuisance at times. I've said to him, aren't you going outside now? You know, can't you be going and doing something? And he says, all right for you. You've got plenty to do in the house, but there's nothing really for me out there.
Bill's eagerness to restock might have something to do with William, his 5-year-old grandson and unpaid farmhand. Before William even went to school, he was a regular at the auction mart and spent every second he could out farming with Grandad.
We came to Grandma's and he told us that we had a foot and mouth, and I started crying, and then my grandma started crying. Then I went home and I saw the coal shed and it was empty.
We had 3 pet lambs in the shed outside, and my youngest daughter and I thought we'd better feed them before the army came and took them away. William saw this one day and he said, Granny, that should be my picture because they were my lambs. So it does make you feel quite sad, actually, when you think about that day.
Back at DEFRA's offices, Angus Dean has turned his cull round to help in his work. Angus is off to supervise the cleansing of a friend's farm. Everything but the chickens were taken from Ian Daggett's fields when a neighbour became infected.
Never ending. It seems to be. I always seem to be able to find a bit more somewhere. If you just know where to look. If you don't do it right, you might as well not bother doing it at all, have you? We don't start.
We'll have a look in this building that you're on cleaning.
Phone call came. They were contiguous. They just come and tell you what they're going to do, and you just have to take a deep breath and just let them get on with it.
As long as there's no muck or straw or anything there.
Right, here, pointed up. Pieces of string yet.
Yeah,
down.
the string will have to come down a bit on the door there.
Yeah.
When there's like holes like that, they don't need capping.
Gap there,
just fill that up there. Yeah.
You can ask him just about anything, depending on whether it's a Monday or not, and he's had a good weekend out, I think, really. He likes coming for a coffee and homemade cakes if my wife's been busy at home. But all round, I think he's been an asset to me to have him here.
Like on there, just make sure there's no string left.
You have to go around there again.
We don't like
the string up. No.
All right, Angus. Okay then.
Thank you very much.
See you later.
Back in Malhamdale, there's something to celebrate.
It's Grandad's birthday.
Farmers have been reluctant to socialise for fear of spreading the disease.
We're here for a surprise birthday party for my dad, Bill, who's 60. Despite everything, we'll just go for it and have a party.
Happy birthday to you. Happy birthday to you.
When it first happened, you know, the community rallied round like wonderfully, really, and it just really kept you going. And of course we haven't been able to really go anywhere and visit our friends or relations because they're all farmers.
I haven't spoke to anybody recently who still have their animals. There does appear to be 2 types of farmers, those with
animals and those without. And those without tend to be talking to each other, and those with animals tend to be talking to each other. I don't know, we're maybe classed as lepers now, seeing as our animals have gone.
Philip still can't get a licence to move his animals to better land. And, unlike Bill, he still can't resume cleaning his buildings more than 8 weeks after he was stopped.
And we were promised to be up and running again within a fortnight. But as with all DEFRA promises, it's gone by the wayside.
Bill's the centre of more celebration. The cleaning of his farm seems to be complete, and in the morning, if DEFRA agree, he could be one of the first in the Dale to be signed off clean.
The job that we've been doing, had to be done, but there was certainly no pleasure or interest in it.
Under DEFRA rules, the village could see animals back in Kirby Malham in just 21 days.
We have been sort of working for this day since 22nd of May, actually. But anyway, with a bit of luck, it's all behind us now, and at least we've something to look forward to.
Oh, there's a difference in here. It will be exceptional.
Mark and Andrea's job is to find areas that may be harbouring the virus. There's news from Cumbria that a restocked farm has got the disease again. Bill's not expecting an easy time.
Probably my greatest area of interest is round the water trough. If they'd had the virus, when they drink, they salivate, and so it's in the nooks and crannies round the trough. Right, if we go round some of the other buildings, you won't want to get stuck back in here. Or you'll make them wipe their feet before they come through. Next building.
Yeah, right.
I'm going to be disappointed if I can't find something. I think you can sort of sleep easy at night that when the stock do come back, they're not going to go down with the virus again.
No, I think
whether you'll spring clean like this every year.
Just might be doubtful, mightn't it?
Yeah.
But,
Bill was urged to clean as fast as possible. He understood animals could be back 21 days after being signed off. But as Mark finishes the paperwork, he's some unexpected news.
That one?
Yeah.
But because of the density of farms that have had the disease in the area, restocking on any of the farms in the area won't start until the protection zones start to be lifted. It will all start to happen. I just can't promise a date at the moment.
It's not what we're hoping. You know, you would like to think that in 21 days we could have then started bringing them back. We're just going to have to work a little bit harder at getting the animals back, that's all. And hopefully, by the end of November anyway. If we haven't got them back by then, I sort of might not just be as pleasant as I've been today.
In the next programme, Bill's eventually allowed to get some cattle, but it's not a smooth trip.
Paddy stations now.
At last the footpaths are reopened, and Anthony swaps overalls for jacket and tie to welcome a flying guest to the Dales.